That you were behind the whole thing. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So there was this small group of comedians, of people interested in comedy, got together and they rented a little place south of Market, a crummy little place. And this guy from New York came and he said, "We'll run this like they did in New York." And there was a hat, and there were little slips of paper in, and on each of them was written some kind of joke, you see. And you put your hand in and you pulled out a joke, and each one had to act it. And we got a little bit fed up because we thought, these are people with lots of imagination, you know, creative people. They should make up their own routines. And so I said, don't you think we could do something with our own routines? And Frankie said that, and Jim Giovanni said that, and whatnot. However, there was a freelance writer who wrote for newspapers, and he dropped it in on this little comedy workshop there. And we were doing these jokes somebody else had written out, you know. So he said he wanted to write a story about a comedy school south of Market. Well, he did, and he presented it to the Chronicle. No, it was not the Chronicle, it was the Examiner. To the Examiner. And the Examiner read it, and they said, you know, this would make a real good news story to go on after the news, you know. So there was a phone call, and Frankie was out, and I answered the phone. And this guy said, "This is Channel 5. We're interested in a news story about this little comedy workshop, the comedy school south of Market. And there's one name came up in this. We've read this article in the paper, and one name came up a lot, and it was Frank Kidder." And he said, "Are you still doing this comedy workshop?" And so I said, "Well, wait a minute, you know, it disbanded." I said, "Well, it did sort of break up a bit, but I'll tell you what happened. We all meet informally at our house, at our place on Cabrillo, and between 24th and 25th. And he said, "Well, look here," he said, "let me know when you have your next informal meeting. And we send a photographer over." Frankie comes home, and I said, "Look here, Frankie, do you realise we're going to have our little comedy group on Channel 5? And I said, "You've got to get them all together." And I told him what I told them. And so Frankie just picked up on that like that. And he said, "Well, there's Freaky Ralph." Oh, and Toad the Mime. She used to perform doing mime in the cannery. She said, we'll get her to join. And Jim Giovanni and Freaky Ralph. And I can't, the name of that guy from New York who had to lie down on the floor, I can't remember. But anyway, the photographer came and a news reporter came, the television news reporter came. And Frankie said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to the coffee gallery on Upper Grant Avenue. She said, I've been trying to get a Thursday night it is, to have our comedy group doing stand-up comedy there. And they won't give it to us, you know. So he said, I'm going there. And he went there and he said, oh no, he phoned him first. And he said, look here. I said, there's going to be a blurb on Channel 5 about our comedy group. And he said, you give us Thursday night, give you your stage Thursday night to us, and we'll advertise the coffee gallery on it too. They said, done. So it came out, that story came out on the 5 o'clock news, and after the 5 o'clock news. So then, what happened after that? Then that group went for quite a time there, and that was the beginning of them, and more people came. And then there was Freaky Ralph, I think, who was at the intersection. And he said, look here, we've got a better place for you to perform, the intersection. And why don't you move over here? I talked with them. And then we moved to downstairs at the intersection on Union Street, you know, near Washington Square. And I think that was a Wednesday night. And that went for a long time. And it was almost free. Frankie said, well, you pay $1 if you can afford it, and if you're not, you just come. And so people thronged there. And that's where all these comedians got together. And then out of that, and Robin Williams came. That was 2000. That was 1975 to 76. There was so many of them, Lorenzo and Bill Farley, and you know, you ought to get Frankie to give all the names.
He will.
You know. And there were just so many, and that was a Thursday night. And we didn't have chairs, but we had lots of cushions. And the cushions were thrown all around on the floor. And there was coffee. That's where you could get coffee too. You know, there had coffee there. And then Frankie started, there was improv theatre, and there was stand-up comedy. There was improv theatre too. And then he arranged a competition there. We had that first competition there, and that was just right there at the intersection. And then he decided we're going one better, and he got a chance of this other place. You remember, you know what it was, don't you?
Was it the boarding house or the Punchline or?
No, that was later.
Really?
That was a lot later. You'll have to, when Frankie can talk, he'll tell you.
Yep, we'll get his interview.
but don't ask me to remember the
Don't.
name. That
You don't
was
have to bother, Will.
It was like a club,
Yeah.
but it was a very nice one.
What
and a
street?
Big one. It was very downtown.
Was it Cobb's?
No, it wasn't Cobb's. Anyway, they got that, and he arranged the first comedy competition, and that was 2006. Wait a minute. 2006.
No,
Or was it
1976.
I mean 1976.
Yeah.
I'm getting the wrong century. Okay, but I think you know the rest of it, how it went. And the first year we put it on, we put it on. The second year, then Jon and Ann Fox had already seen that comedy competition, and we got John Wasserman was one of the judges. He was the Wasserman was reported on film and theatre and performance, all those things in the newspaper. He was in the Chronicle. But they had several judges, and Jon and Ann Fox approached Frankie, and they said they would like to join as partners. And the next year, and they were already in the advertising because Ann was working for the yacht club, I think it's the yacht club, whatever. It was doing all the advertising, and Jon Fox was in something else of advertising, and they had the business skills, you know. Frankie had the teaching skills, and he had a lot of that first organisation, but you know, it just developed very small and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the rest of it. But I had to tell you the beginning.
Oh, I had no idea that you were such a driving force behind. I knew you were.
Not only that, but don't ever put that in the thing.
No.
I financed the beginning.
Oh.
Completely, and that was with my selling my paintings and my teaching. That was all.
Art for
That's
other
all
art.
I had with it. That was the only financing it got.
Yeah. Wow, you're like his Abigail Adams.
What's that?
You're like his Abigail Adams. She was behind President Adams the whole way, advising and counseling and guiding.
Yeah. Well, this next year, I said, I'm not financing anything else. And Ann Fox and Jon Fox, they did all the financing of, you know, putting the money out and getting it back.
Yeah.
You know, but the first one, it was me, and it was my work. It wasn't nothing that I inherited or anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you. This is wonderful to have.